Last episode, Harper discovered that the devastatingly handsome stranger she had been critiquing was actually Declan Wright, the best-selling author behind her favorite guilty pleasure novels. Despite her mortification, she found herself agreeing to help him learn about authentic romance, and could not stop thinking about the way his eyes had sparkled when he looked at her. Harper spent the entire night staring at her ceiling, replaying every moment of their encounter. She had agreed to meet Declan at Grind Coffee at 2 p.m, and now, standing in front of her closet at noon, she was having a complete meltdown. "It is not a date," she muttered to herself, pulling out a soft lavender sweater and then immediately putting it back. "It is just consultation. Professional consultation. Professional consultation with the most attractive man you have ever seen," her traitorous brain supplied. "Who writes romance novels? Who wants to learn about real relationships? From you." Harper groaned and buried her face in her hands. What had she been thinking? She was supposed to teach him about romance when she had never even had a relationship that lasted longer than 3 months? 20 minutes later, Harper pushed through the door of Grind Coffee, her heart hammering against her ribs. The cafe was busy with the usual afternoon crowd. College students with laptops, business people grabbing caffeine fixes, and couples sharing intimate conversations over steaming mugs. She spotted Declan immediately. He was sitting at a corner table, and Harper's breath caught. In the soft afternoon light streaming through the window, he looked like he had stepped out of one of his own book covers. He was wearing a simple black Henley that somehow made his green eyes more striking, and his dark hair was slightly mussed like he had been running his fingers through it. He looked up as she approached, and his face broke into that devastating smile. "Harper," he said, standing up. "I was starting to think you had changed your mind." Harper felt her cheeks warm. "I considered it. Several times." His laugh was warm and genuine. "I do not blame you. I am sure this is the weirdest request you have ever gotten." "Definitely top 3, Harper admitted, sliding into the chair across from him. "Only top 3? He raised an eyebrow, settling back into his seat. "I am intrigued. What are the other 2? Harper felt some of her nervousness ease. "Well, there was the time a customer asked me to recommend a romance novel for his pet parrot. Apparently, the bird was depressed, and he thought love stories might cheer it up. Did it work? The parrot learned to say, 'I love you' in 3 different languages, so success?" His laughter was infectious, and Harper found herself smiling despite her nerves. "And the second weirdest request?" he asked. "A woman wanted me to help her write a breakup letter, in the style of Jane Austen." "Now that is just cruel," he said, shaking his head. "No one deserves to be dumped in 19th century formal prose." "That is exactly what I told her," Harper said, feeling more relaxed by the moment. A comfortable silence fell between them as they both reached for their coffee cups. Harper noticed the way his fingers wrapped around his mug, long and elegant, with small scars across his knuckles. "Writer's hands," he said, catching her looking. "What?" "The scars. I have this terrible habit of gesticulating wildly when I am working through plot problems. I have walked into more door frames and coffee tables than I care to admit." Harper felt her heart flutter. There was something endearing about this successful, confident author admitting to such a clumsy habit. "So," he said, leaning forward slightly, "where do we start? Romance 101 with Professor Mills?" "I am not qualified to be anyone's professor," Harper said quickly. I read a lot, and I have opinions." "Strong opinions," he corrected, his eyes twinkling. "Very passionate opinions." The way he said passionate made Harper's pulse quicken. "Okay," she said, taking a steadying breath. "Let us start with the basics. What made you want to write romance in the first place?" He was quiet for a moment, his expression becoming more thoughtful. Honestly, I was broke and desperate. I had been writing literary fiction for years, getting rejected by every publisher in New York. Then my roommate left a stack of romance novels on the coffee table, and I read one out of curiosity. And I thought, I could do this. And the formula seemed straightforward enough. Two people meet. Conflict keeps them apart. They overcome the conflict and fall in love. Simple. Harper shook her head. That is exactly the problem. What do you mean? You are thinking about it like a formula instead of an emotion, Harper said, her voice gaining confidence. Romance is not about following steps. It is about the feelings between those steps. He pulled out his notebook, flipping to a fresh page. Explain. Okay. Harper bit her lip, thinking. Take yesterday, for instance. When you introduced yourself, what did you notice about my reaction? You looked like you wanted to disappear into the floor. Right. But what else? His eyes narrowed slightly, studying her face. You were embarrassed, obviously, but you did not run away. Exactly. I was mortified, but I was also intrigued, because you were not angry or offended. You were amused, and that made me curious about you. He was writing now, his pen moving quickly across the page. Real attraction is not just about physical appearance, Harper continued, warming to her subject. It is about the unexpected moments, the way someone reacts to embarrassment, or conflict, or surprise. It is about seeing something in someone that makes you want to know more. Like what you saw in me yesterday. Harper's cheeks flushed. Well, you could have been horrible about it. You could have made me feel stupid or small. Instead, you were kind and self-aware. And? His voice was softer now, more intimate. And you made me laugh when I should have been dying of embarrassment. He stopped writing and looked up at her. That is not research, Harper. That is just me. Exactly, Harper said quietly. That is what makes it real. The moment stretched between them, and Harper became acutely aware of how close they were leaning across the small table. She could see the flecks of gold in his green eyes, could catch the faint scent of his cologne. Harper, he said, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. Yes? I need to tell you something. Harper's heart started racing. What? I have been watching you at the bookstore for weeks. Harper blinked. What? I discovered between the lines about a month ago. I was researching coffee shop scenes for my next book, and I kept coming back because... He paused, running his hand through his hair. Because I was fascinated by the way you talked about books. You get this look when you are recommending something to a customer, like you are sharing a secret. Harper's mouth went dry. You have been watching me? Not in a creepy way, he said quickly. I had never seen anyone so passionate about stories. And yesterday, when you were critiquing my work, you had that same look. Like you cared so much about getting it right. Harper stared at him, her mind racing. So, this consultation thing is genuine, he finished. I really do need your help. But I would be lying if I said that was the only reason I asked. What is the other reason? His smile was soft and a little vulnerable. I wanted an excuse to spend time with you. Harper's heart did something acrobatic in her chest. Declan, I know it is crazy, he continued. I know you probably think I am some arrogant author who... I do not, Harper interrupted. I think you are... She paused, struggling to find the right words. I think you are not what I expected. Good different or bad different? Dangerously different, Harper said honestly. His eyes darkened. Dangerously? I do not do relationships, Declan. I do not do dating. I do not do this. She gestured between them. I stick to fictional romance because it is safe. And I do not do relationships because I do not understand them, he said. Maybe we are both due for some practical experience. Harper's breath caught. Are you suggesting we... I am suggesting we learn together, he said, his voice warm and inviting. You teach me about authentic romance, and I will teach you about taking risks. Harper stared at him, her practical mind warring with something deeper and more reckless. I do not know if that is a good idea, she whispered. Neither do I, he admitted, but I have not been able to stop thinking about you since yesterday. And judging by the way you are looking at me right now, I do not think I am the only one feeling this. Harper's pulse was thundering in her ears. He was right. She had not been able to stop thinking about him either. The way his eyes had lit up when he laughed, the gentle way he had handled her embarrassment, the surprising vulnerability he had just shown her. Harper, he said softly, reaching across the table to brush his fingers against hers. The touch was electric. Harper's breath hitched, and she saw his pupils dilate slightly. Harper started, then stopped as the coffee shop door chimed. Harper? Harper Mills? Harper looked up to see Bradley Chen, Mrs. Chen's nephew, approaching their table with a huge grin. Bradley, Harper said, pulling her hand away from his. Hi. I thought that was you, Bradley said, sliding into the empty chair at their table without invitation. Aunt Linda mentioned you were coming to coffee today. She did not mention you had a date. Harper's face flamed. It is not a date, he finished smoothly, extending his hand to Bradley. Declan Wright, nice to meet you. Bradley's eyes widened. Wait, Declan Wright? As in, the best-selling author? Dude, my girlfriend loves your books. She is always going on about how romantic your male characters are. Harper choked on her coffee. I hope she enjoys them, he said diplomatically, his eyes twinkling as he glanced at Harper. She does. She is always saying she wishes she could find a guy like Roman from Midnight Confessions. You know, all emotionally intelligent and perfectly romantic. Harper made a small sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Anyway, Bradley continued, oblivious to the tension. Aunt Linda wanted me to tell you that the new shipment came in early. She needs you to come in tomorrow to help with inventory. Of course, Harper said weakly. I will be there. Cool. Nice meeting you, Declan. I will tell my girlfriend I met the famous Sophia Sterling. After Bradley left, Harper and Declan sat in silence for a moment. Well, he said finally, that was mortifying, Harper finished. I was going to say informative, he said with a small smile. Apparently I'm very good at writing the kind of men real women want to date. Fictional women, Harper corrected. There is a difference. Is there? He asked quietly. Because you seem to want the same things Bradley's girlfriend does. Emotional intelligence, romance, authenticity. Harper looked at him, seeing the question in his eyes. I want those things in books, she said softly. Real life is more complicated. Maybe, he said, standing up and gathering his things. Or maybe we just need to figure out how to make real life feel as right as our favorite stories. He paused beside her chair, leaning down so his voice was just for her. Same time tomorrow? He asked, his breath warm against her ear. Harper's heart stuttered. Tomorrow? Research, he said with a smile. I still have a lot to learn about authentic romance. and I have a feeling you are the perfect teacher." As he walked away, Harper sat frozen in her chair, her hand still tingling where he had touched her fingers. What am I getting myself into? She wondered. But deep down, she already knew the answer. She was falling for Declan Wright, best-selling romance author and the most dangerous man she had ever met. And for the first time in her life, she was not sure she wanted to be safe. Harper is in dangerous territory. Is she ready to risk her heart? Don't miss the next episode.